What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, joined by Tyler Stafford, and I am coming to you from Sacramento, California, because I had to get out of Houston because everything that is happening in Houston is awful. Fred VanVleet's knee is in about 10 pieces, cooking the Rockets' title chances. The Texans are an unmitigated disaster, which leaves the Astros as probably like the place of most solace in Houston sports because they do control their playoff destiny. They still can get into the playoffs, but this weekend the Mariners came into Dyken Park, and I don't know if dominate is the appropriate adjective. They manhandled the Astros for 3 games. They led for 26 of the 27 innings the teams played. The only other inning ended scoreless. So the Astros did not lead in this series. They were outscored 17-7, but it felt like 37-7. Tyler, that was as thorough a beatdown as I can remember in such a big series too. Like usually, like in this era, we have seen the Astros with their backs against the wall, or when stakes are high, we have seen them rise to the occasion. We have seen them, this is when they thrive. They thrive in the big moments. They thrive, on the big stage. And they just wilted this weekend. I'm not here questioning effort. I think they played hard. I think, it's not an effort. This is not an effort problem. This is not, a coaching problem. Like this was just a better team in the Mariners that came in for 3 games and demonstrated that they are just up and down right now, a better team than the Astros.
Yeah. I mean, first inning of the first game, Julio Rodriguez hits a home run on a pitch that almost hit him in the thigh, and it just went downhill from there. So, example of what you just talked about too, like it was a great pitch by Hunter Brown, trying his best, making a good pitch, and Julio was just better, and the Mariners were just better all weekend, up and down the lineup, pitching staff, everything was just better than the Astros. You can't point to one thing and say, oh, if this had been different, if this call had gone this way or whatever. No, that was just a better team the whole time. And, it was going to hurt no matter what, because to get swept is not fun at the end of the season here, especially with the division on the line. But with the Tigers in free fall, the Mariners now have a stranglehold on getting a bye in the first round of the playoffs, which the Astros very easily could have had if it had gone the other way. And now they're on the outside looking in from the playoffs. So 3 games can really swing a season, as you've seen. And I don't know that there were much worse swings that I've seen than that weekend series with the Mariners. Maybe Adley Rutschman's home run in AAA. That might be the only worst swing I've seen.
Before we get into maybe the nitty gritty and just breaking this all down, for those that aren't paying attention or that maybe are listening to this, and just want to know kind of where everything stands and what's going on. We're recording this on Monday. No American League teams are playing tonight. So there's going to be no change heading into Tuesday's series opener in Sacramento against the A's for the Astros. The Astros, as of this recording on Monday, are out of the American League playoff picture. They are technically tied with the Cleveland Guardians for the 3rd and final wild card spot. However, the Guardians have the tiebreaker because they won the season series against the Astros. So if the season ended today, which it doesn't, but if the season ended today, the Astros would not make the playoffs. The Astros' biggest problem, I think, going forward is that they don't own the tiebreaker over the Red Sox. They don't own the tiebreaker over the Guardians. They don't own the tiebreaker over the Tigers, who, as you just mentioned, are in free fall. All of these teams that they are going to be jockeying with for that last wild card spot, they don't have the tiebreaker, which means the easiest way for the Astros to get in the playoffs, they got to win. They're playing 6 games against 2 really bad teams in California this week. I don't know if I can give you a number. Winning all 6 would certainly help, but I think if you go 5-1 on this road trip, I think you should feel decent about where you are. According to Fangraphs, the Astros currently have 65.7% odds to make the playoffs. So, I mean, they have greater than 50% odds, but there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching. They technically do control their own destiny, because if they win, then things will fall into place. But there are going to be some nervous energy looking at some other scores, things like that. The thing that will help the Astros a tad is that the Guardians and the Tigers do play each other in a 3-game series this week. So someone is going to have to lose and therefore, slip further down. So
And
again,
then the Red Sox and Tigers finish the season
yes.
playing each other. So
Yeah.
I mean, if the Astros go 5-1, one of those teams will have lost enough against the others, for the Astros to get in. But again, they got to win, which after that weekend, I'm not sure you can count on.
Yeah. So now focusing back to what we saw against the Mariners, it's pretty obvious. I think we may have not just said it out loud on here, but I think coming in, like, we all kind of understood that the Mariners had a better roster, right?
Mhm.
Just like, because they're healthy, you knew that the Astros were not going to have Jordan Alvarez in this series. You knew Jeremy Pena did not play on Sunday with a left oblique issue. You knew Fromber had been struggling recently. You just knew that the Mariners kind of up and down had a better roster than what the Astros could have run out there this weekend. But was there anything that happened this weekend that was a surprise to you, or that really kind of took you aback as to something that really turned the tables in this series that you weren't expecting going in?
I mean, not scoring against Kirby with Hunter Brown on the mound is not ideal. I mean, we keep talking about it, but Frommer's just been awful, like just straight up terrible for 2 months. I mean, in his last 9 games, he has a 6.71 ERA, and he's looked every bit of that. And I don't know, you just hope that, okay, well, he's going to figure it out, especially with the season on the line here. And, the Mariners coming into town and a team that he's seen a ton, all these things, and just nothing. I mean, from the beginning of that game, it was just the same thing that you keep seeing. And I mean, I don't know what fixes that, but I mean, that's the biggest concern, because again, even if you somehow do get into the playoffs, Fromber starting 2 games in a series, and right now that is not something that you want to happen.
And I think anyone that may have thought that Jason Alexander could push to start, game 1 or 2. I think Sunday may have ended those aspirations, but I don't.
That's
I
not
do
his
not.
fault. That's Jason Alexander. Like,
I
yeah,
do not want to blame. It's
if
tough to blame.
your season rides on whether or not Jason Alexander can be a game 2 starter, you've messed up somewhere else.
Yeah, just, I mean, on a personal level, like, you felt bad for the guy, because he had been a godsend for this team.
For
Like,
sure.
they are not even in the position to compete for the American League West this weekend in that series if not for him. They were 9-1 in his past 10 starts. He had been a revelation. There were a bunch of scouts that were in town this week for this homestand with the Astros, just to scout both the Astros and the Mariners, to kind of start advancing teams that are going to go in the playoffs. And just talking to the scouts that were there, they gave him a lot of credit. They said, but they said, if it's not 70 or 80 command with him, it could go south pretty quickly. And I had a scout text me in the second inning of the game Sunday, said the 70 command is gone. And,
Yep.
I think there were some people that were wondering if he was tipping his pitches. Go look at his spray
Throwing
chart.
pitches down the middle. Yeah.
I mean, everything was middle. Everything was, nothing was below the strike zone. Nothing was at the knees. Nothing was on the corners. It was just, he threw a lot of stuff in the middle to a really, really good lineup. And I think that segues into the next point here. Someone brought up, I forget who it was. I would give them credit if I could remember, but Eugenio Suarez homered in game 1. He homered off of I think it was Hunter Brown. I can't remember, but he homered in game 1. Eugenio Suarez was hitting 6th in the Mariners lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And that homer he hit was his 47th home run.
Yeah.
That same night, the Astros hit Christian Walker 6th. I think that just demonstrates the disparity between these two lineups. That the Mariners can beat you in a lot of different ways. You saw it really against Fromber. Josh Naylor bunt single, steals second, tags up on a deep fly ball to center field, and then comes home on a sacrifice fly. Like the inning, the start the second inning on Sunday, bunt base hit, infield single that Jose Altuve probably should have charged a little more aggressively, but I think that's still a tough play to get Jorge Polanco. Eugenio Suarez goes the other way with a single, and then the bases are loaded with no outs. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. They've got power up and down the lineup. They've got a lot of speed. They do some things on the bases that are troublesome for teams, especially teams like the Astros that can't hold runners. They ran wild on the Astros in the first two games. When the games were close, they didn't really need to run on Sunday because they got a 7-0 lead. But I wrote a little bit about it after the game on Sunday. The Astros offense has reached a point where this is who they are. Unless Jordan Alvarez can pull a Kirk Gibson and come back the last 2 days in Anaheim and then maybe in a wild card series, the lineup they have is a lineup they have. They're not going to get anyone else. This is just who they are. And after 157 games, 58, I don't know, but after the amount of games that they have played, this just is what they are. And you do have to wonder if what happened this weekend and just the entirety of this season, just the struggle scoring runs, the struggles since the deadline. They have the 4th lowest OPS in baseball since the All-Star break. You have to wonder if there's going to be kind of a holistic reckoning this offseason. And I don't know what that entails. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's looking at the personnel that you have, because I've said from the beginning, hitting coaches are that's a very easy punching bag to go to. It's the hitting coaches are wrong, blah, 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 they need to go. The roster is the roster. Yainer Diaz is going to be a free swinger no matter what hitting coach is in here. Jose Altuve is going to swing a bunch at the first pitch of a plate appearance, no matter what hitting coach is in here. This is their roster construction, is that they have got a bunch of guys that have gotten to the big leagues and that have succeeded in the big leagues with one kind of style, with one approach. And when you put all those guys together, and when you don't have Isaac Paredes in there, the one guy that can help you get some patience, you have what you have. So I do think this kind of underscored what they're going to have to reckon with in the offseason. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's, remaking the roster where you go find some more guys like Isaac Paredes. I'm not saying you're going to find a guy that can see 4.5 pitches per plate appearance, but whether you remake the roster in that way, whether there is a discussion about whether the philosophy needs to be looked at, I don't know, but they pitched, Jason Alexander notwithstanding, they pitched well enough to win in this series. The bullpen retired, I believe, 17 of the last 18 guys on Sunday. Hunter Brown was great. And then no one's going to want to hear this, but I thought Fromber looked okay. The 5th inning got away from him, and he's not. I'm not trying to put lipstick on a pig here. He's got to pitch better. He's got to.
Yeah, you need Fromber to be more than okay. He
Right.
pitched okay relative to an average major league starter, but not what you need from him.
Right. But I guess the point I'm getting at is they on the whole, they pitched well enough in this series to be better than getting swept the way they did.
Right.
Their problem is it is very difficult for them to score runs. And they have got to find a way these next 6 games to make it less difficult. And then when they have an entire offseason to really audit this thing and look at it, they've got to find a way to get more efficient offensively and to score some more runs.
So when you're right. I mean, the coaches can coach who is on the roster. And when you look at the Astros roster this year, I would argue there's 2 guys that are underperforming what you would expect them to do in a normal year. And one is Yainer, who has been bad, but not so bad that it's what happened to him. He's a 109 OPS plus career hitter. He has a 91 OPS plus this year. It's worse than his normal year, but it's not what happened to this guy. That's just kind of what Yiner is. The only other one is Christian Walker. I would argue outside of that, everyone else is performing as good, if not maybe better than what you would expect. Like Jake Myers has had a great year hitting. Jeremy Pena has had the best hitting year of his career. Isaac Paredes has been phenomenal. Correa, since coming over, has been much better than he was with the Twins. Jesus Sanchez has not, so that's another one that you could point to. But again, looking at the roster, like, what do you think's missing? Like, what do you think would be better with something else going? Like, these guys are playing at the level that they are. You've just missed 110 games of Jordan. You've missed Kyle Tucker. You've missed Alex Bregman. Like, that's what a team looks like when those guys aren't playing every day. And you're filling it with Mauricio Dubon and, with Paredes out for a long time. Like, you're filling it with whoever you have, any outfielder that'll go out there. And, Altuve has had a little bit of a down season, but look, he's old. He's 35. Like, he's still been an above average major league hitter this year. He leads the team in home runs. Like, if that's a bad year for your 35-year-old, now left fielder, you can't blame anything on that. You're right. The roster is just what it is. And again, that's what it looks like when you miss 3 superstars for an entire year. Your lineup last year had Jordan, Kyle Tucker, and Alex Bregman in it every day. And this year it didn't. And that's why the offense looks bad.
Yeah. And I don't want to discount all injuries here. Like, I mean, speaking of things they're going to need to audit this offseason, it's injury prevention, it's injury return to play procedure. Like, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out once this season's over. But like, the lineup's not going to look good if Jordan Alvarez only plays 48 games. The lineup's going to look too aggressive and, swing at everything if Isaac Paredes, the one guy you acquired to help solve that, is out for 2.5 months. So that can't be discounted either. But it felt like this series just against the Mariners really kind of just exposed everything that has been problematic this whole season, things that they have been able to stave off, things that they've been able to mask, whether it be by guys coming up and performing over their heads, whether it be by playing inferior opponents that they were just kind of able to beat. No, you had a team that, according to Fangraphs now, the Mariners have the highest odds of any team in baseball to win the World Series. So you can call them the World Series favorites. They came in and exposed every little flaw that this team has, and it's going to result in a lot of soul searching. But before they do that soul searching, they do have 6 games to play this year to finish out this season. And then, if that goes well, they will play in a wild card series. We'll talk about the immediate future right after this message from our friends at DraftKings. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
It seems like this whole season has been kind of a litmus test for, Astros fans who, some of them started watching the team in 2018, 2019, when it was roll the balls out there and the ALCS, there's a clear path to it. And then we'll start paying attention then and get into the World Series. It was funny to read kind of the reaction from, people I talked to in person, on social media, things like that after that Mariners series, kind of acting like the season's over, kind of acting like, oh, well, good try. Like, it's over. Like, no use watching this team anymore. There, like I have said ad nauseum here, there are many different ways to get to the pinnacle. You have seen teams sneak in as the last wild card, go on an unreal heater, and win a World Series, get to a World Series. Am I saying that this Astros team is going to do that? I am not. Do I think that they are equipped to do that? I do not. But they have a core of guys that have been there before. Jose Altuve has the second most postseason home runs in baseball history. Carlos Correa is one of the more clutch postseason performers you've ever seen. Fromber, as much as no one wants to hear it, has pitched in big games before and has stepped up. So they still have, and also like the way the team thinks, the way the organization thinks. Like these guys, yeah, they were mad and not happy that they lost to the Mariners and that the Mariners have basically won the division, but they also know what's in front of them. They're not, baseball is not a reflective sport. It's not a sport where like you rue about what happened a day ago or 2 days ago. Like it's very much a moving forward kind of sport, next day, next game up, because if you do that, especially in a marathon season, if you carry what happened yesterday into today, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So yes, the Astros still have a very good shot of extending their playoff streak, getting into the playoffs for a 9th consecutive year. We talked about it. They're going to come to Sacramento and play the A's for 3 games this week before going to Anaheim this weekend. Christian Javier will start on Tuesday against the A's at Sutter Health Park. Their TBA on Wednesday and Thursday. I would imagine Hunter Brown is going to start on Wednesday for no other reason than if they start him on Wednesday, he would have an extra day of rest before the potential game 1 of a wild card series. That would also mean if Sunday in Anaheim is a must-win game to get you into the playoffs, Hunter Brown would be on 3 days of rest. I'm not sure they want to do that to him, pitch him on short rest. I would imagine he would be available in a bullpen type role. Again, we're talking like if it's a must-win game. You'd have Christian Javier on full rest to start a potential winner get in game on Sunday, but I'd imagine Hunter Brown would start on Wednesday against the A's just for that fact that they give him some extra rest before game 1 of a wild card series. But Tyler, they've got it all in front of them. Like they're playing 2 bad teams. The A's can really, really hit. We've seen that. They have done a number to the Astros this season, but the Astros killed the ball when they were in Sacramento earlier this year. It is a hitter-friendly ballpark. It's a minor league ballpark. The ball flies. Everyone was hitting the last time we were here. So it's advantageous for their offense that needs some good things to happen. But they've got it all in front of them. I mean, they still control their own destiny. They can still get into the playoffs. And again, once you get in, anything can happen.
100%. I mean, look at the American League. I still would argue there's not a team in the American League that you walk into if you're the Astros and think no shot in this series. Like the Astros match up fine. Even the Mariners who just came in and swept them. I still think if you had a 5-game series, you'd feel pretty decent about your chances against the Mariners in a playoff series. The Blue Jays have the best record in the American League. Are you really that scared of the Blue Jays? I don't think so. I mean, they certainly can win a playoff series, but there's no team that's just like a behemoth where there's no point in caring. Like the Astros just have to get in, and yes, winning the division feels really good. Having a first-round bye would have felt very good. That honestly didn't even seem like a possibility a week ago, but now the Mariners control that destiny. But either way, like if they had won the division and not had a first-round bye, they still would have been playing in the wild card weekend series either way. Like they're going to end up in the same spot if they make it in. It doesn't really matter in the end, other than just when you roll over against a team like you did against the Mariners, you just kind of have that in the back of your head. But like you said, they just have to get in. And look, I've watched a lot of Astros baseball in my life. After they lost in the World Series in 2005, it took them 10 years to make it back to the playoffs. So having 162 games that matter is not like a thing that you're promised. I have watched a lot of seasons where it was over in July or August, and the fact that the Astros continue to be able to do this with new faces every year, with the injuries that they had, all those types of things is incredibly impressive. And just as someone who watches to be entertained, like that is a gift to have an entire season where it really matters every game. And yeah, once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. So, like you said, the Astros clubhouse is not in a spiral. They are not worried about this. They're going to go out there and try to beat two really bad teams and make it into the playoffs. Because again, just the way that the schedules work out, the three teams that are in front of the Astros in the wild card, really four if you count the Tigers, all play each other. So there's gonna be some attrition there. So that, I mean, again, like if the Astros go 4-2, they should be able to make it just because of the way that the schedule works out, where these other teams are just playing each other and one of them is going to fall off from the others. And the Astros absolutely should be able to go 4-2 against these two teams. And if they don't really have anybody to blame but themselves. You've got all the injuries that you want. You can say all of that, but even the current roster is way better than both of these two teams. They should be able to do it. But baseball is a weird sport, so we'll see. But again, you're right. Having a season where they're not just wake me up when it's the ALCS, like that's not normal. You don't get to do that every year. The Astros have had an insane run that I don't know that it will be seen like that again, or certainly not anytime soon with the way that free agent contracts work and all those types of things. It can be very difficult for a team to put together a run like the Astros did. So enjoy it. Watch these next 6 games and see what happens.
I do think that leads into another question that I thought about writing. I thought about writing it in the story I wrote Monday. I kind of touched on it, didn't go as deep as I wanted to, but like, did you view this weekend and did you view kind of what the Mariners did this weekend as more of like, this is a good team. This is a good team in 2025 that has made some nice deadline acquisitions, that has a catcher that is having a season for the ages, that has Julio playing at peak form and like is just a really good team that is having a really good season? Or did you view it as maybe something of a more like a changing of the guard, kind of like the Mariners are now a force, that this is not a one-off, that this is going to be something that the Astros are going to have to contend with year in and year out? Because it is forgotten sometimes that the Mariners did build a 10-game American League West lead last year. And, they blew it. The Astros played very well to run them down and to help them blow it. But, this is a Mariners team that the last 2 years has been 16-10 against the Astros in their 26 meetings. So I wonder, was it more, did you view this as more of just a good team having a great year that came in and played as good as they can? Or is this kind of a more longer term, like the AL West, they're not going to say the guard is changing, but there's a perennial contender now, and this is going to be a 2-horse race now instead of 4 other teams chasing after one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would have said that coming into this year, that the Mariners are right there with the Astros. They have been for the past couple of years. I mean, that's pretty normal. I mean, again, you don't get to be in a division normally where just 4 losers and you just beat up on them all the time and you sleepwalk your way to the playoffs like the Astros have done. The Mariners are a good team, and they have a young core that the Astros do not have.
Right.
The Astros core is aging, and there's not anybody that you point to and go like, oh, this is who you build around for the next decade. No one has emerged as that for the Astros. I mean,
Zach Cole, baby.
Jeremy Pena, but they did not lock him up soon enough to assume that he is going to be part of that core for this foreseeable future. Like what's Julio Rodriguez? He's still like 24. Like he feels like he should be way older, but he's super young.
And he and Cal Raleigh, both of
are
whom
both locked up
signed-
till like
Yeah,
2030. Yeah.
right. They both signed pretty team-friendly extension. Cal Raleigh's is certainly now a team-friendly extension, but I mean, they're both locked up till 2030. Luis Castillo is really the only high-paid member of their rotation. Their rotation is all in arbitration, so they're pretty much they're either pre-arb or arbitration guys. So they're pretty cost-controlled. Same thing with Andres Munoz, their closer. Matt Brash, the setup man. You kind of start to look, and this is a team that, and not like, I think what you alluded to is perfect. Like, they've got a guy in AAA right now, Colt Emerson, who probably should be in the big leagues, but like they're not going to test him in September of a playoff of a pennant race. So like they've got they had the farm system to go out and get Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor at the deadline. And we're very close to getting Johan Duran from the Phillies, from who did he play for before? The Twins, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Mariners and the Phillies were the last two teams for Duran, and the Phillies picked they keep saying the Phillies. The Twins picked the Phillies package. So they could have been even better. And so that's where it gets to, you look at from an organizational kind of holistic standpoint, where we just talked about, like, Jose Altuve is not getting younger. Like, he's still doing perfectly fine things, and he's still a great player in the face of the franchise, but he's not getting any younger, nor is Carlos Correa, who is now under contract for the next 3 years here. Cam Smith is the guy that I think they thought and they hope they can be one of those pillar core guys. We haven't seen him much in the second half, certainly not in September. Like, again, we all kind of thought that was coming, but you would have liked to see a little more consistency. You'd have liked to see a little more holding those flashes of brilliance he's shown throughout the season. Jeremy Pena certainly is there, but I mean, are they going to trade him next year when they can't re-sign him like they did with Kyle Tucker? Because they're in this position somewhat because, like we talked about earlier, they traded Kyle Tucker when you didn't have to trade him. Like, you could have done what you did for all the other free agents you didn't sign and let him play this year out, give it your best shot, and then move on. But, like we said at the time, I understood where they were coming from. I understood the rationale behind it. It certainly made sense, but sometimes you got to live with the other side, the consequences of what can happen when you do that kind of stuff. So to me, it feels like the Mariners probably organizationally are in a better spot going forward. They don't spend near the money the Astros spend. The Astros spend money. They don't spend it very wisely, I think, as we have seen. They've got a lot of money in a lot of different areas that is hamstringing them. Quite frankly, it has hamstrung them. It hamstrung them this year. It's may hamstring them into the offseason. I'm not sure. But the Mariners are in a better just place organizationally, but that sometimes doesn't matter. It's only about the major league product on the field. And the one thing that the Astros have been adept at, and you saw it a little bit last night, even in a down game, AJ Blueball comes in and gets 9 outs on 34 pitches, looked outstanding. Zach Cole hit a Logan Gilbert slider 445 feet into the right field bleachers. Like, they're good at getting contributions from guys that aren't on prospect lists, guys that are kind of underlooked and undervalued. They're good at getting those guys to be major league contributors. The one thing they're going to need some of these guys to hit as more than just contributors. Like, they need them to be pivotal organizational foundation pieces. And I just don't think they have that right now.
No. And the reason that they've been able to have success with that is they were getting these contributors to build around very high level prospects, like Carlos Correa, 1st overall pick, Alex Bregman, 2nd overall pick, Kyle Tucker, 5th overall pick. Like, that's what you need. And the Astros have not drafted anywhere near that in a long time. And that's why you're not seeing the same top level talent. That's how baseball is designed to work. So you have these, runs of people getting talent. And just because you draft that high doesn't mean you're always going to be good eventually. We've seen that with just about every other team that's not the Astros that has had,
You've seen it
a
with the
run.
Astros.
Yeah.
Mark Appel was the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Brady Aiken. Like just because you have the number 1 overall pick you pick in the top 5 or 10 doesn't mean like you're going to get a franchise altering player. It's about picking the right guy. And it's also about like, you don't have to pick in the top half of the draft all the time to find like Hunter Brown was a 5th round pick.
Yep.
And the Astros were picking in the 20s. Like they found like that's good scouting. And then that's good player development when you get them in. The Astros are good at player development. Like they have a good player development system, infrastructure. Mm-hmm. They are good at unearthing these gems, unearthing like small school guys, working the middle, late rounds of the draft. I think where they have struggled, and this is still a statistic that blows my mind, and I think I've said it on the podcast, they do not have a 2nd round pick with a positive Major League B-WAR since Adrian Hauser in 2011, and he accrued it all with the Brewers. Mm-hmm. You can like a 1st round pick is a 1st round pick. I don't care if it's number 1 overall or number 31 overall. Like these are all guys that are considered the 30 best amateur baseball players in the country. Like you got to have the right guys there. You got to right guys, bring them in and develop them. And that has maybe been the place. And let's also not forget they traded Drew Gilbert for Justin Verlander. They've traded some of these 1st round picks. They've traded some of these. Ryan Clifford was in that trade as well, who's a very good prospect in the Mets system. They've sacrificed sometimes prospects to win now. And it's all an accumulation of stuff, but it's not as if they're hopeless. It's not as if like it takes a couple good draft picks, and hopefully for them, I know people in the organization are hoping, Hunter Brown finishes top 3 in the Cy Young voting, because that'll get you another, high round pick. Remember how we were all laughing about the PPI stuff in spring training? Like it matters. Like this team needs as many of those high round picks as it can get, and more than that, they need to hit on them.
Yeah, 100%. Because like we said, just to give you an idea, so Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez are the only guys locked up past 2030 for the Mariners. They are 24 and 28 years old. The Astros have 2 guys locked up past 2030, and that is Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa, who are 35 and 30 years old. So, those are going to be guys that, are going to be veteran presences, are going to be important to have around, but that is not a core that you build your roster around. You need new young talent, and the Astros haven't found that yet. But yeah, your original question was like, is it a changing of the guard or whatever? Like, I don't think going into next season, it's clear cut. One team is better than the other. I would imagine the Mariners are probably going to be projected to win a handful more games than the Astros going into next season, but it's not going to be anything outrageous. Like the Astros are still going to be considered, one of the best teams in the AL West. And, I don't think that changed based on a 3-game series in September. But yeah, the Mariners are good. They're not going anywhere. The core that they have now that makes them good is going to be the same core they have for the next 5+ years.
I will say this for those that follow this kind of stuff, Vegas at the beginning of the season, they set the Astros win total right at around 86, and they're 84 and 72 right now. So presuming they go 500 on this road trip, they will exceed Vegas's preseason wins.
Suckers.
Yeah. We'll talk about a couple interesting decisions that were made during this series and what it could mean for the future right after this message from our friends at Foul Territory.
When you think Fair Harbor, you should think soft. You should think buttery liner. But it's not just the bathing suits or the shorts. It's also sweatshirts like the one that I'm wearing right now, Kratz. It is stupid soft.
It's ridiculous that a shirt that can, 1, keep you warm, 2, be so soft, and 3, so lightweight, like the collar, everything. You don't even feel like you actually have a hoodie on, but you do.
It is a lightweight hoodie. and it feels incredible. So you should go get one yourself. Also, for bathing suits, for shorts, for whatever clothes that you're interested in where you want to basically feel like you're not wearing them, but you are, that's what Fair Harbor can bring to the table. So head to fairharborclothing.com/foul20 and use code FOUL20 for 20% off your order. That's Fair Harbor, HARBOR, clothing.com/foul20 for 20% off your order, and make sure you use that promo code FOUL20.
So it felt kind of redundant when I was writing this weekend because each one of these games that they played against the Mariners were technically the biggest game of the season. So like everything was prefaced with like during their biggest game of the season, blah, blah, blah. But still, I found it, and I'm sure you did too. I'm sure you found it interesting that Christian Walker did not start at first base on Saturday in what was their biggest game of the season. Joe Espada kind of downplayed it, said he just wanted to get another lefty bat in the lineup, wanted, Victor Caratini, switch hitter against George Kirby that night, wanted some more balance, lineups, especially right-handed. George Kirby's very good against right-handed hitters. Christian Walker did start on Sunday. He came back. Joe Espada said Christian Walker has been our first baseman and will continue to be our first baseman. He started on Sunday. Still, it didn't pass the smell test. I think the fact that Christian Walker didn't start a game that with that much significance, with that much on the line, and bear in mind with Framber Valdez on the mound, a ground ball connoisseur, without a guy that has won the last 2 National League Gold Gloves at first base, instead putting a backup catcher at first base. I think that spoke volumes about where Christian Walker's at, just maybe in terms of the organizational hierarchy, what they sort of think of him. And I think it opened up some pretty fair questions as to what his future kind of holds here, because as we've talked about with Carlos Correa in the fold now, they're going to need somewhere to play Isaac Paredes because he's not going to play third base. It'll be Carlos Correa's job. We have talked about that Isaac Paredes does not profile well at second base. There are very few people in the industry that think he can handle second base defensively. First base is probably the most ideal place to play him. Christian Walker's under contract for 2 more years. They're going to have some interesting decisions to make this offseason, a lot of fascinating decisions. And I think Saturday kind of accentuated that a lot of them could start and end with Christian Walker.
Yeah. And look, I do not want to disparage Christian Walker as a person or, anything to that sort. Again, I don't think it's an effort issue, anything like that. But despite not even starting in that game, he had arguably the worst at bat of that game, coming in, game on the line, and actually going by win probability added. Outside of Correa's double play, which I'm not going to hold against him, his was technically the worst play for the Astros.
How have we gone 43 minutes and not talked about that?
That was nuts.
We'll get to that.
That was crazy. But the 2 worst plays of that game are by the 2 guys that we have talked about all season long. And that was, you get runners on second and third with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning, down 2. All you got to do is hit a line drive to the outfield. Game is tied. Anything can happen. Season's back on, all of that. And the same 2 guys, Yainer Diaz and Christian Walker, both come up and strike out in just awful fashions, just uncompetitive at bats with the season on the line. And again, you can talk about injuries and roster construction and whatever you want, but like those were 2 guys that were core pieces of your roster that you built this year, and both have just not performed. And you saw it on Saturday that, anybody else coming up at those 2 spots, all you have to do is make contact. And again, both of those guys have done that throughout the year. I'm not saying that they are not capable of doing it, but I do think that it is fitting that the Astros division titles more or less ended in the bottom of the 8th with both of those guys striking out swinging with the tying runs on base.
I want to preface this with there were no good options because Mauricio Dubon had been burned already, I believe, as a pinch runner. That would have been Omar Lopez was managing the game at this point because Joe Espada had gotten twice ejected. The second, when he was confirmed he got ejected, that was about as mad as I've ever seen him in any capacity, but whatever. Omar Lopez is managing the game. I understand what his rationale was. Like, they're looking for a homer there. Like, they're looking for a ball in the gap. Like, you're looking to run into a ball because it's late in the game. You know they're probably going to use Munoz in the 8th of the 9th inning, even though he had pitched 2 days in a row. Like, that's a big spot in the game. They're looking for power. They're looking for somebody to run into a ball. Christian Walker's the most of who was available. Christian Walker's probably the most ideal person to do that. I think it speaks volumes that Ramon Urias has not taken an at-bat since September 13th in any capacity. Really is the Dana Brown's trade. We'll have to do when the season's over, we'll have to do a podcast about the trade deadline because that has turned into, I don't even think flop does it justice, even though Correa has been great. But
that one was not a Dana Brown trade.
It was not. No.
Yeah, that one doesn't count.
No. But I understand the rationale. But given how badly Christian Walker has struggled against velocity this year and fastballs, you knew it was coming. It was going to be 4-seamers at the top rail and try to catch up to it. And he couldn't. And it was Dan Wilson played it perfectly. And again, this jives in with the trade deadline too. Christian Walker pinch hit for Jesus Sanchez. This is a guy that the Astros acquired. They gave up 3 prospects to acquire Jesus Sanchez, and he cannot face left-handed pitching. Like, I don't think they thought – I think they were going to try to hide him from most left-handed pitching when they got him, but I think in the back of their minds they're like, hey, if he gets some confidence going and if he's really producing, like, we can leave him out there against some lefties, and if we've got the situation created, like, if it's a lower leverage spot or something, like, no, like, they cannot hit him against left-handed pitching. So you were left with, you had Ramon Urias on your bench. You had Taylor Trammell, who hits left-handed, so it wasn't going to be him. You had burned Dubon. Dubon is probably their best hitter against velocity. And in that situation, if I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it as I need a ball in play. I need something in play. Make them make a play. Even if it's a ground out, even if it's a fly out, like, who knows? They could drop it, whatever. Like, I need a ball in play. I think if Dubon was available, I think he would have been the go-to. But again, there were no good options there. And it just kind of accentuates, like, and I don't want to keep making the comparison because I don't think they're the same. And I know the stats look similar, but it was the same conversation we were having about Jose Abreu. Like, you can hit him 7th. The game's going to find you. You can bench him. Like, there were a couple times where they benched Abreu and they brought him in as a pinch hitter and it didn't work. Like, the game is always going to find you. And, I thought you were spot on earlier when you were talking about kind of the construction of the roster and kind of who has performed and underperformed. There are 2 players on this team that have taken at least 600 plate appearances this season. And it's Jose Altuve and Christian Walker. And that is, again, this is not a Christian Walker specific problem. And also, like, let's also note, Christian Walker has been good since the All-Star break. Like, if you look at his numbers since the All-Star break, they're not quite what they were in his full season last year with the Diamondbacks, but they're pretty close. Like, he's been better since the All-Star break. He's got the homers are up to 23, 24 homers, but the strikeouts have just grown exponentially. He's got the most strikeouts of any hitter in baseball with runners on base, which has certainly not helped since he's hitting cleanup 5th or 6th a lot of the time for no other reason than they have no other options. It's been a bad year. It's been there is no sugarcoating it. It's been a bad year. He does have a limited no trade provision in his contract, which would allow him to block trades to 6 teams. I don't know what 6 teams those are, but it certainly seems like there's going to be conversations in there because they got to get rid of an infielder somewhere because Isaac Paredes needs somewhere to play. I don't think they're going to play him at second base. I could be wrong about that. They could tell him, the minute this season ends, you're working all off season at second base and we need you there, and it could turn out to be fine. I don't know. but it does feel like Christian Walker is in a tenuous spot, especially if they're looking to get rid of some money. You know, you got Correa's contract coming onto the books. You're going to have a lot of ARB raises to give your arbitration eligible guys. I don't think you're going to find a team that's going to take on Christian Walker's whole contract, but it's certainly something that it spoke volumes to me that he did not start Saturday's game.
Yeah, I'd also push back on him being good since the All-Star break. He's hit 237 with a 744 OPS. Like, just nowhere near good enough at any point this season, really. I mean, you've had some games, you've had some series where you're like, oh, that's why the Astros are paying him $20 million a year. But there has not been any stretch that Christian Walker has looked good, and certainly not $20 million good. He just hasn't. And yeah, I mean, they'll have to figure that out in the off season. They've got too many infielders, and they'll have to figure out some way of moving stuff. And as we've seen, Jim Crane doesn't mind burning money if he thinks it improves the team, you know, significantly. Like they're paying Jose Abreu this year. You know, they'll figure it out if Jim Crane thinks he's going to get some upgrade somewhere or it makes the most sense for his team. But yeah, just a failed experiment all the way around. And I don't know. You hope that he has it in there somewhere, but I don't know. I mean, there's just nothing that you can point to this year that says, oh, if they can unlock this in him, or, you know, anything. He just, again, like if you're not catching up to fastballs, you're not going to get better at that as you get older. You're not going to get better at that next year. Like your swing's only going to slow down. And that's already just been a huge thing that teams have exploited to great effect. I might add, it has worked very well, and everybody knows it's coming. Everybody watching the game knows it's coming. Christian Walker knows it's coming, and it doesn't matter. He can't hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at the top of the zone, and every pitcher knows that. And as long as they can do that, they're going to get him out. And I don't see that changing ever.
You're saying an Astro knows what pitch is coming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they could yell it at him, and I don't think it would matter.
Oh man, well, we should probably end this before I get canceled if I haven't already. Yeah, so I mean, if Christian Walker hits like 4 homers on this road trip, then yeah, it would. I don't know if it would save everything, but it would certainly put him in better graces and certainly like alter the conversation a little bit around him. And the Astros have to hope that happens because they will be limited again offensively. You don't know. Jeremy Pena seemed to indicate that his oblique was not a huge deal. They were precautionary. They did an MRI. They're going to give it a couple days. But again, obliques are very tricky. Like you would think with 6 games left in the season, it's all hands on deck and you're going to push through some pain. But if he's not able to fully rotate and if he's not able to be as effective as he can be at shortstop, especially where he makes a lot of diving plays, a lot of quick twitch stuff, you do kind of wonder, like, what would the efficacy be of playing him if he's not at full strength? But I guess we'll see. Jordan Alvarez will not play against the A's. So they're going to need Christian Walker. They're going to need what they have because, as we've talked about, this is the roster they have. Like, maybe you call Zach DeCenzo up off his rehab assignment to give you something, but there's nobody waiting in the wings to come save this thing. It's going to be the 28 guys that are on this roster that traveled to Sacramento on Sunday night and spent Monday's off day here, hoping to maybe disconnect a little bit from baseball, kind of clear their minds before the new biggest games of the season begin. Before we get out of here, happy birthday to both Carlos Correa and Jeremy Pena today. They share a birthday.
Adorable.
Very. I'm sure they're going to go to like a pizza parlor in Sacramento, like maybe split a pizza, you know, I don't, maybe split something, maybe they're both 21. They can maybe, you know, have a beverage if they choose. I'm sure it'll be a nice, quaint celebration that I'm sure it'll be very, I don't think they'll do it big or anything.
Do you think Correa eats with the belt on that he wears in the dugout?
I want to
get at restaurants with it.
I want to know if he eats with the nasal strip. I think he may eat with the nasal strip. I don't
There
think
you
the
go.
back. I don't think the back belt makes an appearance, but I think he may eat with the nasal strip. He
And
will
it's
play with the,
probably good for like fine food tasting. It's like the sommeliers. They really get into it.
I want to be a sommelier just so I can like spit into a bucket and it's socially acceptable. Have you ever
Sure.
seen when they do that?
I have not.
A sommelier will like taste some wine and like you don't drink it. They just put it on their taste buds to
course
taste.
not.
They wish it around and they spit it into a bucket.
Cool.
Well, A, because they don't want to get drunk, and B, they want like their palates to be. It's something about I don't know. It's some weird crap that I heard, but yeah, they spit into a bucket. And it's socially acceptable. So
Cool.
That's my next life. I'm gonna be a sommelier, so I can get away with spitting in a bucket.
I mean, you work in a place where the floor of the dugout is just spit, so
Yeah.
you'd probably be fine if you did it now.
But the press box isn't a. The press box doesn't
Not yet.
all the spit. Well, who knows? I could change that. We're in a minor league ballpark for the next
Yeah.
3 nights, so
There's no rules. Do whatever you want.
It's just the same. Probably could get away with it. From that minor league ballpark, the Astros will try to finish off their. I called it a plateauing playoff pursuit in my story this morning. So it's plateaued. We can certainly say that, but the only way to get it unplateaued is to beat the A's in 3 games this week in Sacramento. I will be here, and we will come back and we'll talk about it when the series is over and kind of where the Astros stand. But until then, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. As always, please rate and review us on Apple. Please do the same on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified anytime we go live and anytime we post a new video. As always, shop crushcityterritoryshop.com if you want some merch. If you want a coffee cup, a beanie, a backpack, a duffel bag, a t-shirt, a hoodie, we got it all for you. crushcityterritoryshop.com if you're interested. As always, appreciate you guys listening, and we will be back at some point this week to talk about where the Astros stand in the muddled playoff picture. But until then, we'll see you soon.
Both of the 6 seeds last year won their first playoff series. Bye.